When you first came to Dunfermline, Paddy, you were 17.
16 actually, Christine, because I joined when I was 16, the ground staff.
Did you?
Yeah, so I was 15, I went to Blair Hall Colliery, in the pit, and I played juveniles in Edinburgh, Lone Head, because my Uncle John, who run Blair Hall Colliery, his brother-in-law had a juvenile team in Edinburgh. In that time in Fife, Dunfermline area, there weren't many juveniles. So I had to get the train from Oakley to Edinburgh, a bus in Edinburgh to Lone Head. But that's my early days.
So did you actually play for Blair Hall as well?
Yeah, but then I played with, obviously, joined Dunfermline, but at that I was signed professional. So I was able to play with Blair Hall. And I think the boss at that time Big Jock wanted to do for the juveniles to the juniors, the processions to progress. So I was 16, joined Dunfermline in the ground staff. We Alec and I, that's some parent.
Alec Edwards.
Yes.
So, what was it like then at that time? Because Jock Stein was here as manager, and you as a young guy signed for Dunfermline, who were on the up at that time. So what was it like actually being here then?
Different class. Different class. I mean, they were putting the stand was getting built as well, but the full picture was bright as anything. Loved it. And you were a star in a way in Dunfermline. In Dunfermline, we were well treated and everything. And that era after the cup winning team, really seasoned professionals as well. And a lot of young fifers was at that same time.
Because Jim Fraser signed at the same time as you.
Yeah, Totty. They were actually, I think they were 65, they were a picture, there were 13 of us, fifers, in the big squad. Jim Fraser, John Lynn had joined, Jackie Sinclair, then a bit later Eric Martin, then obviously Edwards, Moran, Judge, the Calligans, there another Alan Strachan, all fifers. All fifers, and all young.
Yeah. Was that what Jock Stein wanted then? Was it young local guys to play?
I think, well, yeah. Obviously a squad from the west, Jordan Muller, then wee Peeves and Kilgannon and Hamish, that the younger ones for Stirling as well, Alec Totten. So I like young, bring them the young ones. But Big Jock was just a master. He had everything in his hands. What parks he would speak to groundsmen, we need you. And, he was just everything. My management was different, totally different, above anybody else I've found later, latter years. But it was good, Dunfermline at that time.
Yeah. You didn't play many games in the first team when you were here, but you played in the reserve league, because at that time there was the first team and the reserve league, and the reserve, they used to play opposite Saturdays. One Saturday the first team would be at home, and then next Saturday the reserves would be at home. So you played a lot of the time in the reserves, but at that time the reserves for any club was a really good team.
Well, first team. A lot of places, a lot of teams would have taken our reserve team as the first team. Even when the boys came back, Kilgannon and all that, Bertie, Jim Fleming, they all, when they'd been injured or that, they would go right to the reserves. But that's what Big Jock did. I think I played when I was 17 the first team against Fraserburgh in the Scottish Cup. But that's what Jock did. If you were a winger, the first team winger was injured, he'd bring the reserve winger or full back or what. It didn't make 4 or 5 changes for that one position. But the reserves, we could hold our own. It was good at that time, eh? Really good time, eh?
Because a lot of the players you were saying, like Bear, like Alec Fergus and George Peebles, and probably Alec Edwards and Jackie Sinclair, maybe kept you out the team.
Oh, I would. Well, I'd always try to strive for the first team, but that team, Peebles, Melrose, then Hugh Robertson come in, and Jackie Sinclair, wee Edwards. So it was difficult in the wider areas. Ian Hunter, the wider areas was a bit difficult, to get in the first team. So it was competition at the time,
Yeah, that first season you were here, Dunfermline reached the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, but that season also Jock Stein left.
Yeah.
So was that a big miss when he left?
Well, he was really good. We started, I was in ground staff, So I was here a year before I actually played in the reserves. I was allowed 3 games. I think one of them was Motherwell, Kilmarnock, reserve games. But then I'd played all these testimonial games and friendly games, and so I was part of the setup and everything. And he made you welcome and everything like that, and he would build you up, but then he would knock you down there. They would just. I played against East Stirling, and I'd done a wee mazy run as I sometimes did, but I should have passed a bit better. But Ian Hunter, I just had an easy open go, and he sclaffed it. I'm saying, for goodness sake, what's that? So next time you could hear Big Jock coming along the corridor and just sitting there, and he'd come right into my face and says, "Who do you think you are? You never talk to another player like that. So get a grip." Right, boss? And he would do, then the next day he would say, "Come on, wee man," he says, "you're doing well, brilliant," and that. So he would build you up, but he knew when to knock you down, But that's the man management that he had above every other manager that I've been part of. But he was really good that way.
You played under a few managers. Yeah, I mean, Willie Cunningham was the next manager who played under at Dunfermline, but then you played under a few, so was there any of them that lived up to Jock Stein? No?
Well, Turnbull, Harry Melrose had joined Aberdeen at that time. So when I was released, well, it was, shock horror to me. I didn't realise what had happened. And Big Willie, knowing how he was, said, "Well, just watch wee man," he says, "you're maybe better going down south and that." I'm saying, what's he not wanting me to play for Dunfermline and tell me who to play with, for? But Harry then, as I said, joined Aberdeen, so Turnbull came to Dunfermline to see me, and I joined Aberdeen. So I went from that type of manager, Jock Stein, to Turnbull, who was well above tactically in that era, McLean type, but his man management skills was just totally different. And I think I used to be a wee bit frightened sometimes how he used to shout at you and everything when you're doing some routines and all that. But he was a good manager, technically, tactically as well. So I joined Aberdeen. They were upcoming at that time as well. So it was good. We got married in Dunfermline and stayed in Aberdeen. So I quite enjoyed it. Part of it.
To get back to Dunfermline, the first season when you were here, we finished 5th in the league, and then the following season, that man Alec Ferguson joined, and a swap for Dan McClendon. Lost George Miller and you lost Charlie Dixon. But they got to the Scottish Cup final that season. So that was quite a good season as well.
But we were, since the Steam, the 61 Cup winning team, we were every bit if not better, with your Kilmarnocks and your Dundees even. Dundee United was thing with St Mirren and all that. Dunfermline was above top 6 anyway, maybe a wee bit above that. Kilmarnock won the league and we could have won it that year, eh? But it was certainly good Dunfermline at that time, and his Fergie was just something else. But it was a good time, good time, Christine. It was for Dunfermline. We always punched above our weight, really. I think the crowds, a lot of it came from the outlying areas, Kelties and Rosyths and all of that. Again, they would come into Dunfermline, so it was a good time. And I managed a few games in the first team at that time, like five or six games at the trot, because Alec had been suspended or injured. So I got a wee thing for that, the first team, with Hugh Robertson, Bertie, Jim Fleming, Fergie and that, defensively, forwardly, and the usual Callaghan, Lunn, Jim Fraser, Jimmy Thompson and all of that, Alex Smith, a player, they were all there as well, so I managed 5 or 6 games in the trot.
So who were the players that you thought were exceptional, or who you thought were the best players that you were playing with? Anybody, or were they all good?
And I think Fergie, obviously for his goal thing. Bertie was a good player as well. Smithy was a player's player. They would hold their own in most teams. No firm, they won the European Cup, so all the ones. Rangers had good teams at that time as well. Kilmarnock, and so Dunfermline had every bit as good players. I would say Fergie and what do you call him, Alex Smith would hold their own. I think they transferred from here as well, so some other people think. And obviously Alec Edwards went to Hibs, but they would hold. I think Smithy would be the pick. Bertie would be next year, I think. The Callagans and Lunds. I mean, they were the fullbacks at that time. They were buzzing. They used to be wing backs, but they were wing backs before the new term wing backs.
Yeah. Scottish. That season again. It was a Scottish Cup final. They were beaten by Celtic. But then there was a game at the end of the season where we played Celtic after they had won the cup, and we beat them here 5-1.
Yeah.
So that was some game as well.
It was, the crowds were fantastic, Christine. I mean, that era was just, totally packed, but after, it was a good day because Celtic obviously beat us in the cup. But it's as though we'll show you, which we did. But even going a wee bit earlier with Liverpool's and all of that, they were big, huge teams, but Dunfermline competed with them. So that was a busy day, busy night, with that. But the place was buzzing. Place was buzzing,
Yeah. And then the following season, again there was changes to the team with Willie Cunningham being the manager. Jim Herriot left then, Eric Martin came in, and Jim Fleming and Alec Totten. You lost Jackie Sinclair to Leicester. But then, as you say, Hugh Robertson came in.
Hugh Barney Rubble. He just natural left side, he'd be Hugh. But Eric Martin, I was in the ground staff, as you said earlier. My big jock had said to me, go and see Uncle John and get Eric Martin to come in. At that time, the development offices down in Euro, when the stands were getting thingweed and that. So I went to see Uncle John. Bosses wanted to see Eric. So Uncle John said, well, go and tell him. So Eric had been day shift, so I went down to his house and as you do, chapped, and his mum says he's sleeping. So I go out and I get him, Fred, I says, the fellas want you. I says, come on. I says, brilliant. I says, get away from that pit. I says, this is what you want. Oh, I says, I can't be bothered. But that was Eric, couldn't be bothered. But he signed and he done really well. Good goalkeepers at that time for Eddie. I mean, I as a ground staff, and I used to clean the bits and everything for all these the 60-01 team and everything like that, clean the dress rooms out. So I was part of it in a way, and then Jim Harriet, Cookie, then Eric. So I mean, they were all good goalkeepers, would hold their own. But he was another character, another Blair Hall, another Fifer, and it was just it was good.
There was quite a few local guys, because obviously Bear came from Valleyfield, so as you say, there was a lot of local people, local players that came into the club then.
There's Calligans, Cowdenbeath, Jordy Moran, Mick Judd, Cowdenbeath, John Lynn played with Blair Hall, Alex, Jimmy, Jackie Sinclair, Eric Martin, Blair Hall. I was a Fifer, Bertie, Strachan, Totty, Ian Hunter. So I think there were a right squad of Fifers that time.
Do you think then, when players used to come from junior teams into professional teams, it's totally different now, because now it tends to be that players that play for the juniors are after they've played for a professional team. Do you think it should go back to that? Yeah,
I'm sure the boss thought that as well. You go through the steps, you got part of your hardening up. I was playing with Blair Hall when I was 16, but then another wing was Jimmy Ward, with Blackburn, wee Bobby Simpson, the ex-Rangers and that. They were finished with their professional career, and it certainly toughened you up. And I think if it go back to that, through the stages, and they're classed as a footballer, a professional footballer when they were 17. They've never even played in the first team or that, but they're classed as a professional footballer, where they go back to the days, go through the stages and harden them up. The reserves was good as well, so I go back to that rather than pick them for 10, 11 years old or something like that. Then there's, and I think it could change back to the old way. I don't know if it would ever happen enough, because it's money.
Yeah.
Sometimes the phasers are wanting the money more than the sons, but that's part of it.
You actually played in just one European game, was it?
Yeah.
Against Ball Club.
Ball Club.
What was that experience like?
Again, Christine, it was surreal way. I mean, that is playing in Europe, and I even went to holidays in Europe or anywhere. So it was brilliant. It was part of that wee run I was getting in the first team. Big crowd, and the night games always seemed to be more, I don't know, it was some atmosphere in the night games rather than the afternoon games. So again, buzzing, the feeling was good and everything like that. So and I think we was it 2.5 team or something. It was 5-0 at thing when I managed to get a couple of crosses in it. Fairgear Bertie thing we do, but you were brilliant part of it, really good. Then the next the week after, I was left out. We played Hamilton Accies, there was another 5-6 goals or something, and then we went to Denmark and on Monday or Tuesday, and the game was Wednesday, and when the team was read out, I wasn't there. So that didn't please me much. Jimmy T was left out as well, wee Cal come in, but that was Big Wally. Big Wally would never come and say, oh, by the way, the reason I'm not playing you is, but he just never told you, and so you're left to say, oh well, I'll show you. But I think in the end, Christine, I didn't show him. I should have, I should have maybe worked harder.
I was going to say, do you have any regrets about your time here?
Yeah, I should have worked harder. That was the main thing with but I think I get more kick now with the former players we've got. I'm a season ticket holder, Centenary Club, Spars Trust, so I'm more Dunfermline now than I've played a lot more games against Dunfermline than I ever did with them, unfortunately. But that would be a regret, I should have worked harder and should have said, I'll show you, rather than just saying, you can.
Because you went, as you said earlier, you went to Aberdeen, and then you've also been at Raith Rovers, Cowdenbeath.
Well, the
You were
Rovers
at
was,
Berwick Rangers.
yeah, well, the Rovers was the best time for me, first team wise. Turnbull decided that he was changing things, so I did speak to Tommy Walker and saying, I'd like you to come to the Rovers and that. So I thought about it, and the good lady, Turnbull was of the opinion if I was wanting to stay, I wouldn't get a game anyway, I'd be left in the stand type thing. So it was the knife in the back and the knife in the back. So I went to the Rovers and had 100 odd games with the Rovers, and that was more times I played first team. Then Berwick back to Harry. A few years down at Berwick as well, part time. Tuesdays were Dalkeith and Thursdays was Pennycook. Then decided that was finished with Berwick, joined Cowdenbeath with Frank Connor. Then Frank Connor went to Celtic and I joined Cowdenbeath as manager. And that's a story. But that's
What was that experience like then, being a manager?
Oh, totally different, especially when how you're working and what you're working with. I mean, I went for Dunfermline, top of the pile. Aberdeen was still top of the pile. The Rovers are getting smaller than the pile, and the Berwick was down the bottom of the pile, then Cowdenbeath's below that, But it was just no kidding, people didn't realise how hard you work with a part-time manager at a place like Cowdenbeath. You do everything, and I enjoyed it, and I would say I would enjoy it sometimes, but then I couldn't wait to just join the Rovers again as a coach, rather than the management side. I like the players, working with the players and that, but with directors and all that is just total mayhem. When I started the first board meeting, I used to, you should be doing this, should be doing that, 5 or 6 of them all. So after the next board meeting, I said, I'll give you a bit of paper, name your team. So I just asked to sit down. So they says, well, see, all different teams. I says, that's why I'm the manager. I says, it's my team. It didn't make any difference, because they'd be shouting at you here, there and everything. Rolly on Saturday, there was a thing we joined with Cowdenbeath. I signed them after Dunfermline, and we're playing East Stirling at East Stirling, and it was quagmire as usual. It's right on the running track or anything like that. So we went across the park, going and coming back. So after the game, Rolly, hey sir, come on, it's getting drinking time. So I went to the directors once, twice, 3 times. Come on lads, it's it's about 5:30, getting 20 to 6 or something. So Rolly's gave me in the year again. So I said to the chairman, he didn't drink, Mr. Chairman, what's this? I mean, this is out of hand. He says, well, you're in charge, Mr. Manager, you do what you want. I says, right driver, away. I left him in the boardroom at East Stirling. So the phone went that night, and the next day, and who do you think, and so on and so forth. But they were more interested in themselves. But that was the part I didn't like. And the fella had all the facilities. The fella looks brilliant to attract any player. The stands and everything. Look at the park and the setup and that. Cowdenbeath's fenders, big tyres and all that place, and he used to have a wee sign, keep off the park. As we used to change it, says find the park, because after the stock cars and all like that, no training facilities, no hot water, no lighting, so all these things, Christine, just, it was an experience. I'm thankfully I had, but I was quite happy to say that's the end of it.
That's the end of your managerial career.
Oh aye, name here.
And did you do anything after you went to the Rovers as coach? Did you do anything else in football after that?
Well, obviously that was me full-time finished with the Rovers. So I then had to get a job, and it was Henry's Soft Drinks, just in Dunfermline here. I joined them as a rep, so that money coming in. After that, finished with them, I went to Tenants as the Brewers there, so that's still in the pub game. It was another thing I thoroughly enjoyed there, speaking to people. And that was, by that time, the football, I was finished completely with the football side after I went back to the Rovers with Gordon Wallace. That ended that season, I says, oh no, this is too much. So that was me, and just went back. I went to the licence trade, so that was it for that.
So, we see you around on a Saturday because you're here at the games, you're here a lot of the games. So you must have some affection for Dunfermline, even although you maybe didn't have the best opportunities in the first team here compared to other teams. So you must still have that affection here for Dunfermline.
Well, I just saying earlier, I'm a season ticket holder. I mean, with my wee name in the chair. Centenary Club, the Supporters Trust. So I'm still involved. I love the Dunfermline maybe more now than my playing days in a way. What happened, but I still a lot of affection. I started, obviously, Celtic was my main thing. I've followed Celtic, and after the Cup, I've had a big rosette with Willie Fernie on it on the Wednesday night, and that got flung when Celtic, Big Charlie didn't put the second goal in. But since then I've grown. I'm a local. And I look forward to the games, especially the wee former players association. And we sometimes, especially this season and last season, we actually watch the game now. The season before that we were more concerned what happened games previous, not years previous, not just now. But no, I like Dunfermline. I really a lot of infection. I have a lot of time now since I've retired, and everything helps as well. So it's good.
Well, Paddy, it was very good speaking to you. So thanks for giving us this interview.
Thanks for listening.